Hello, friends, and welcome back to Figgy in the North, the podcast where we talk about traveling thoughtfully, adventurously, and just a little bit off the beaten path. I'm Figgy, and today we're heading to one of my absolute favorite places in Iceland, a place that feels wild, remote, humbling, and incredibly rewarding. Today's episode is all about the Westfjords. If you've ever looked at a map of Iceland and thought, what's going on way over there? This episode is for you. We're going to talk about how to get to the Westfjords, when to go, and the must-see stops that make the journey worth it. The Westfjords aren't a place you just stumble into. They're a place you commit to. And if you do, they give back tenfold. So grab a coffee, lace up your imaginary hiking boots, and let's head north and west. Why the Westfjords are different. Before we get into routes and logistics, let's talk about why the Westfjords are so special. This region is one of the least visited parts of Iceland, even though it takes up a huge chunk of the country. And that's not because it isn't beautiful. It's because it takes time, patience, and intention to explore. Here, distances feel longer than they look on the map. Roads wind slowly around fjords. Weather changes quickly. You may drive for an hour and see more sheep than people. And that's the magic. The Westfjords reward travelers who slow down. This is not a hit 10 spots in a day destination. This is a pull over because the light is incredible destination. If the Ring Road is Iceland's greatest hits album, the Westfjords are the deep cuts. Quieter, moodier, and unforgettable. Routes. How to get around the Westfjords. Let's start with routes, because this is the most important thing to understand when planning a Westfjords trip. Getting there are 3 main ways to reach the Westfjords. 1. Driving from the Ring Road. Most people enter from the north near Blönduós, or from the east via Route 60. This is the most flexible option, and the best if you want to explore at your own pace. Number 2. The Baldur Ferry. This ferry runs between Stikkisholmur on the Snæfellsnes Peninsula and Brownslækur in the southern Westfjords. It's a fantastic option, scenic, relaxing, and it cuts hours off your drive. The bonus is you can bring your car. And number 3, flying. There are small domestic flights from Reykjavik to Ísafjörður. This works if you're short on time, but you'll still need a car once you arrive. For most travelers, driving plus the ferry is the sweet spot. Driving in the Westfjords. Here's the thing. The Westfjords are not about distance. They're about time. A drive that looks like 2 hours on the map might take 4 once you factor in gravel roads, mountain passes, sheep crossings, and photo stops every 5 minutes. The main routes to know are Route 60, the backbone of the region, Route 61, that runs along the northern fjords, and Route 62 and 63 that connect smaller fjords and villages. Many roads are still gravel, though they are paving more every year. You do not need a 4x4 in summer, but you do need patience and caution. My biggest advice? Plan fewer stops than you think you can handle. The Westfjords are about quality, not quantity. In short, it's best to dedicate at least 3 days to this region, despite its size. This isn't a region you can drive through in a day or two and expect to see much. Seasons. When to go. Let's talk seasons, because timing your trip to the Westfjords matters more than almost anywhere else in Iceland. Summer, from June to August, is the most popular and most accessible time to visit. The pros include roads are open, long daylight hours, sometimes nearly 24 hours, the best weather conditions, and access to hiking, boat tours, and remote sites. The cons, there's still unpredictable weather, there's limited accommodation that fill up fast, and you'll want to book early rather than book as you go. Summer is perfect if it's your first time in the Westfjords. Everything is open, the ferries run regularly, and you can explore without worrying about snow closures. The shoulder seasons around May and September. These months are beautiful, but require flexibility. There are fewer tourists, dramatic light, and quieter villages. But some roads may be closed, the weather can be rough, and services may be shut down. If you're comfortable changing plans on the fly, this can be a magical time to visit. Winter from October to April. Winter in the Westfjords is not for beginners. Road closures are common. The weather is intense. Some towns feel almost entirely shut down. But if you're experienced, patient, and prepared, it can be extraordinary. Snow-covered fjords, northern lights, and a deep stillness. For most listeners, though, I recommend late June through early September. Must-sees. Experiencing the Westfjords. One of the most important things to understand about the Westfjords is that the destinations themselves are only part of the story. What makes this region unforgettable is how each place feels when you arrive there slowly, often after a long, winding drive where the landscape keeps unfolding in unexpected ways. Let's start with Dinjandi, because for many travelers, this is the moment the Westfjords truly reveal themselves. Dinjandi is not a single waterfall, but a series of cascades that fan out as they descend the mountainside, growing wider and more dramatic the closer you get. From a distance, it almost looks like a white veil draped over the dark rock. The walk up to the base of the falls is gradual and accessible for most people. And along the way, you pass several smaller waterfalls, each one beautiful in its own right. When you finally stand at the base of Dinjandi, the sound is powerful, but not overwhelming, and the scale of the landscape around you makes it feel both humbling and peaceful. This is a place that invites you to pause, breathe, and simply take it in. From there, many travelers make their way north toward Iceland, which serves as the unofficial capital of the Westfjords. Iceland sits at the end of a deep fjord, surrounded by steep mountains that seem to rise out of the sea. Despite its small size, the town has a surprisingly lively atmosphere, especially in summer. You'll find cozy cafes, bakeries serving fresh bread and pastries, and a strong sense of local pride. Iceland is also an excellent place to learn about the region's fishing history, which has shaped life here for centuries. Spending a night or two in Iceland allows you to slow down, enjoy a proper meal, and experience a bit of everyday life in the Westfjords, rather than just passing through. Heading south and west, the landscape becomes even more remote, and this is where you found Røyðasandur Beach. Røyðasandur is one of those places that feels almost unreal when you first see it. Instead of black sand, the beach stretches out in soft shades of red, gold, and pink, with the colors shifting depending on the light and the weather. The drive down to the beach is steep and winding, and it often makes people more than a little nervous. But once you arrive, the sense of isolation is extraordinary. This is not a beach for swimming, but for walking, watching seals bob in the water offshore, and experiencing a rare kind of quiet. On calm days, the only sounds are the waves and the wind, and it's easy to lose track of time here. Not far from Røyðasandur are the Westfjords Cliffs, which mark the westernmost point of Iceland. These cliffs stretch for kilometers and rise dramatically from the ocean, creating one of the most impressive birdwatching sites in Europe. During the summer, thousands of seabirds nest here, including puffins, guillemots, razorbills. What makes Westfjords especially memorable is how close you can get to the birds. Puffins in particular are famously unafraid of humans, and you might find them standing just a few feet away, peering back at you with equal curiosity. At the same time, the cliffs themselves demand respect. The edges can be unstable, and weather conditions can change quickly, so it's important to move carefully and stay aware of your surroundings. On a clear day, the views out over the Atlantic feel endless, reinforcing the sense of standing at the edge of the world. You can even see Greenland in the distance. Beyond these headline sites, some of the most rewarding experiences in the Westfjords come from seeking out hot springs in small villages. The region is dotted with simple, often undeveloped hot pools that feel worlds away from Iceland's most famous spas. Places like Hetluloig or the hot pots in Drangsnes offer warm water, ocean views, and a sense of connection to local traditions. These are not luxury experiences, but they are deeply relaxing and authentic. It's common to share the space with locals, exchange a few quiet words, and then sink back into the water as the steam rises into the cool air. The villages themselves are an essential part of the Westfjords experience. Towns like Flateyri, Patreksfjörður, and Bildudalur may seem small at first glance, but each has its own character and story. Many of these communities have faced natural disasters, economic challenges, and long winters, yet they remain resilient and welcoming. Stopping for a bowl of soup, a cup of coffee, or a conversation with a local can often become one of the most memorable moments of a trip. These places remind you that the Westfjords are not just a dramatic landscape, but a living region shaped by people who have adapted to its challenges over generations. Taken together, these destinations show what makes the Westfjords so special. They are not flashy or crowded, and they don't offer instant gratification. Instead, they reward curiosity, patience, and a willingness to linger. Each stop feels less like a checklist item and more like a chapter in a longer story, one that unfolds slowly, mile by mile, fjord by fjord. Practical planning tips. Before we wrap up, a few quick planning tips. Fuel up whenever you can. Gas stations are sparse. Download offline maps. Check road conditions daily. Build buffer days into your itinerary. And respect weather warnings. And most importantly, don't rush. The Westfjords are not something you conquer. They're something you experience. So if you've been wondering whether the Westfjords are worth the effort, let me say this clearly. They absolutely are. But only if you give them the time and respect they deserve. If today's episode helped you start imagining your own Westfjords journey, subscribe to Figgy in the North wherever you listen. Leave a review. It helps more curious travelers find the show. Share this episode with someone dreaming of Iceland. And if you're planning a trip, save this episode and come back to it while you plan. You can also find me on social media under Adventures in Iceland, where I share photos, videos, and behind-the-scenes travel tips from the North. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. Traveling is about curiosity, patience, and presence, and nowhere teaches that better than the Westfjords. Join us next week as we cover the final region, the Highlands. This is Figgy, and I'll see you next time in the North.